5, 4. Welcome back to our study on the book of Romans. This is the Romans Education Part 1, and this is session 39. We left off, just give me that first slide in 39. Oh, Trent, I should have told you, go to that 39 and 40 PowerPoint. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take up right where we left off, where I was showing you the pattern for edification. The godly thinking, the godly living, and the godly labor. And I broke verses 9 and 10 down. Could you see that, by the way, when you look at those verses, if you realize, abhor that which is evil, cleave to that which is good, that's the way we're supposed to be thinking about it. Give me that first slide there, Trent. And I think, yeah, there's exhortation. Let love be without dissimulation. And then the godly thinking is, abhor that which is evil, cleave to that which is good. Then we go to verse 10 and get the godly living, be kindly affectioned one to another with brotherly love. And then we get the godly labor, which is the last part of verse 10, in honor preferring one another. Now, I know right now you may be looking at that last one. You may be saying, I don't understand how we're doing that and how that's labor. I don't understand what operation is being accomplished by that, and we'll cover that. But for the most part, can you just look at the way those verses are, and I see how this is kind of divided out that way. Some of you see that? Because look, the more you see this pattern show up in your Bible, you know what's amazing? You can preach the Bible your whole life and never notice a pattern that runs for 13 books non-failing. It just makes you wonder, was I paying attention? Was I awake? To use Carl's phrase, are you awake? You know, but here's this pattern that's going to show up over and over and over again. Okay, so now, verse 10, this is the next one. Be kindly affectioned one to another with brotherly love. I guess I need to start this thing, don't I? Wow. So the thinking that was given to us in verse 9, which is to abhor that which is evil and cleave to that which is good for the other members of this local assembly, now we're said, okay, when that thinking is in you, it ought to naturally flow into a conduct. And that conduct is described here as being kindly affectioned one to another in brotherly love. Now, I'm going to break this down into pieces. And so let's take just that word, kindly. Now, the Oxford English Dictionary definition of kind, and I know you know what that is friendly, considerate, generous, not harmful, loving. Look at that last one. Affectionate. Be kindly, what? Affectioned one to another. It's, you know, the language is really pretty amazing, isn't it? How you keep coming back to these terms that are supposed to be put together in the Bible. The word kind is used in a couple of different ways. I can say there are different kinds of cars, right? They're all cars, all right? But you know what? That's a noun. Then if I say I'm going to be kind to Bob, well, it's actually an adjective. Yeah, be is the verb. It's actually describing. Kindly, oh, I'm sorry, I don't have the verse up. Be kindly affection. If it's got ly, it's no longer an adjective. Now it's an adverb, right? And so that's describing something. Now here's what I want to show you. Kind. Now, look, you don't have to know. Anybody ever read Old English? I'm not talking about King James English. That's not Old English. Beowulf is, yeah, you've got Old English, you've got Middle English. If you ever read Old English, you will not recognize anything you're reading on the page. Because in Old English, it's written phonetically. I kind of make fun of it and say, you know what? They wrote like a second grader who understood phonics would write it. Write it like it sounds. Many times, not all the time. I'm really kind of making a joke out of it. But here's the Old English word. Kind. Do you see that? And sometimes it was written without the E, and sometimes it was written with the E. There was no rule because there was no standardization. So you kind of find it both ways. The word kindly is written like that. which is the word kind with the GE on the front. Now, when I was teaching this in Monaghan's, I kept thinking about that. I think about this stuff all the time. And I told him, this is the correct thing, GE. And I said, it's BECYNDE, be kind, which made sense to me. And so if I was in Old English, I would have written be kind, right? Instead it was geek kind. But and I'm sure that's not how they would say it. But anyway, this is kindly. That's how they changed the form of it to do that. Now, why am I saying that? Now, here's why that even, and you don't need to know Old English. I'm just showing you something. Because just the word kind, just the English word will do this too. Both of these words have a root in them that is common. That is the same root that I'm going to pull out of this. If someone is kin, what does that mean? Part of your family, right? We say, we got kin folks coming in. You don't talk that way, but Jed Clampett does. And when he would say, we got kin folks coming in, you know what he said? We've got family coming in. That word kind comes from a root of how you treat family. Loving and affectionate. Now we've lost that. This word has been weakened through time. So now we just think if someone is kind, we don't think of family at all. We just think of being nice or being friendly or something like that. But the word, let's go all the way. That's why I took you back to the Old English. All the way back to there, it was based on, in other words, this was a behavior that you exhibited toward other members of your family. I know about your families. Please don't go there. Okay. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, not your weird uncle who has ostracized everybody. I'm talking about the way we are supposed to genuinely feel about, and the way we naturally feel about family. And that's where that word comes from. And that's why it gets paired up with the word affectioned. Be kindly affectioned. What are you talking about? You're supposed to be affectioned toward folks like their family. Now look, this is great. I should have let Tommy erase this. I'm going to run out of room. This is what you've got now. Two sides of the same coin. Up here, you learned that you're being looked at as a body. And you're members of that body. And because of that, then there is and I erased it a while ago, there is a selflessness that takes place, that keeps us from thinking of ourselves more highly than we ought to think. We're all members of the body. The body needs every member to be functioning, or other members are going to have to carry the weight. And you know what? If the body's going to work the way it was designed to work, made to work, created to work, all the members need to be in there. And now you come along, and that's why these two of the six that you're going to learn from Romans 12:3 to 16, of the six major features of godly love, the first two are really two sides of the same coin upon which the next four are going to be built. And the reason they go hand in hand is because this godly loving kindness, look, as a body, let me just ask it to you like this. Can you work together with a group of other people toward the same goal without caring about those people? Yes. Can you? Have people ever worked with you and they didn't give a flip about what you were going through? It was all about what you were trying to get done, right? In fact, if you fell down, they'd step on you to get it done. And your Father knows that's not how He loves. He wants you to see, can you do the body attributes? Can you participate and cooperate and serve and respond? without having godly, loving kindness, indeed you can. So here's what he says. I do want you to see yourselves as a body. I see you as a body. In fact, I have a name for you. You're called the body of Christ. But at the same time, that's not enough. Now, you've not only got to have body type thinking, you've got to have family type thinking. And with that family type thinking, you're not only going to be selfless, but you're going to be, I'm going to use this word that was in the scripture, kindly affectioned. And that word kindly is kind, remember, was the love that comes from kin, from family. And you know what LY means? LY is always the abbreviation for like. Remember, godly is God-like. It's like his. What godly whatever, it's like his whatever, right? Godly love is like his love, right? And so this is family, kin, like affection for each other. And you're going to pair that with being members of a body where you don't just look at each other like, well, they're a hand and they need to start doing their job. Well, yeah, they're a hand, but you're also going to be looking at them and saying, and you know what? I've got to start looking at them like and don't think about being part of the family of God. That you are part. That's your justification. You know, when you got saved, you got part of that family. He's talking about how you view each other in this group. Remember, confine yourself to the context. It's this group. Now, I know you're looking around, you're going, this is my family? Oh, I get it. I get it. But you've got to see that. But why? Because that's how he views it. He's looking at us like a family. And we've got to start thinking about each other that way. And so when he says, hey, this is the thinking about this. When something bad is happening to another member, doesn't matter. You abhor that. And when something good is happening to that, I want you to join yourself to it. I want you to cleave to that. And then you know what that's going to do? That's going to produce a conduct in which you treat each other like the family that you're supposed to understand that you are. So now you've got two dimensions. I think there are two dimensions for the same, certainly the same group, but the relationship is two-dimensional here. Now, I really don't care if you see it as two-dimensional or you say it's two different deals, but you've got both of them at work. And you know what? And this kind of takes care of the problem here. Yeah, okay, but you know what? I got a family, and you know what? My Uncle Festus, if you knew him, but you know what? We got to look at Uncle Festus like he's a necessary part of the body when he's in this group. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah. So those are the things that when he says, be kindly affectioned one to another, he's now, for the first time, adding to the understanding that we're a body and members of the same body. But now we're supposed to see each other with the affection of a family. And how does he say that? Be kindly affection one to another with what? Brotherly love. Well, wait a minute. Brotherly love, what kind of love? Isn't that a family type issue? By the way, whose love is this? This is our Father's? This whole thing is family oriented. So he's using this terminology to say, you know what? You're a body. And now I know there's the whole body of Christ, but right now that's not what he's talking about. Are you with me there? He's just talking about this group right here. You're a body and you're a family. And that's how he wants us to begin to see each other and to focus on our treatment of each other. Family today, when you say that, a lot of folks don't, family was, when I was growing up, our family had spent some time together every single day. It was usually at the supper table. And today, families are pretty divided up, even when the kids are little and in school. When everybody's up and got jobs, I get it. But, there's some families that even in my generation, they just didn't spend much time together. We always sat at the supper table together, and that's when Dad found out what was going on with you. And you learned to be articulate and measure those statements. How'd it go at school? And now you're wondering, did Mom spill the beans or not? Well, okay. You know what, though? Family is supposed to do something. And this is what I'm getting at here is it's supposed to build a bond, a particular kind of bond to us that, folks, we're going to have when we get into the heavenly places. And if we can't cultivate that bond here, we're not going to be put in positions that will necessitate that bond in the heavenly places. Yeah, we'll be up there. We've got to learn to do this here. I can remember that not only we go to church together, and you know, when I was a kid, it was funny, on Saturday mornings when cartoons came on, I could be up at 6 o'clock, watch those cartoons, and in those days, the only thing on at 6 o'clock was an Indian head cymbal and a high-pitched beat. Beep, come from the TV. And it didn't matter how low the volume was, my mother down the hall, 3 rooms away, as soon as it clicked on, would holler down the hall, "Michael, shut off that television and get back in the bed." How did she ever know? We bought a boat. We used to go skiing. We'd go Friday night when they got off work. We'd go to the lake. We'd set up that tent. It wasn't those easy ups they got today. They're made out of plastic with a deal. You push a button, the thing kind of flops out, and you throw the stuff over it, and that's it. This was a canvas tent that weighed 1,000 pounds. This was some of you don't know, those canvas tents, brother, you needed a crane to lift those things. I remember Dad, and you know what? I was the one sent in to stand it up when it was all just stretched out on the ground. I'm weighing 45 pounds. The tent weighs 180. I'm standing up, and it's 140 degrees in there. I felt like one of the Hebrew children in the fiery furnace. And my dad is slowly pounding the tent stake. Hey, could you get with it out there? But you know what that did? And we got the boat. Everybody learned to ski. And we'd swim. And then Saturday night, we'd pack it all up and come back home. But you know what? Those were great times. Those were great times. And I got to tell this because this is an issue with me. We had a family that go with us sometimes. I'm not going to say their name because if they ever got a hold of these tapes, I wouldn't want them to think that I was speaking disparagingly of them. But they had 2 boys. The oldest boy was about 2 years younger than me, and he had a brother about a year younger than him. And they were wild Comanches. They were not like me at all. I was very submissive to my parents. I'm not... Francis? I was. And you know, here was my big deal at night. When we go to the lake and the adults would get that fire going, they sit around the fire and they would talk about things that were going on in the world. My biggest thrill was sitting by that campfire, keep my mouth shut, and listen to them talk about stuff I didn't hear anywhere else. My buddies and I, we didn't know what was going on in the world, let alone talk about it. That was great to me. I loved that. And I was willing to sit back and get out of the, radar and just listen to that. But the other 2 boys only wanted to burn everything they could get their hands on in the fire. That was all they were interested in. And because that got out of hand, their parents would always say, "You boys go in the tent and lay down on the cots and go to bed." And you know what their excuse was? "Why do we have to go to bed when Michael's still up?" Oh, I wanted to kill those kids. And then, of course, you know what my mom does? "Michael, go in there and lay down." I thought, tomorrow when we're skiing, y'all may not come up. So I go in, I lay down on the cot, and I'm just shut up and do. You know what? They're up out of that cot, out of the tent. Make them come back in. They're out of the tent. Make them come back in. They're never back in the cot again. They're playing on the tent floor. They're back out. Finally, their parents wear out. They're back out by the campfire. Where am I? I mean, I questioned justice in the universe over this issue. And now I'm in the, someone told me after last Sunday, you're bitter about that, aren't you? And I'm laying in that. So the next day I say to my dad, I said, that's not right. He said, what? And I say, hey, here's what happened. He goes, you know what? You don't have to go anymore. Yes! Okay, I'm just saying that. I just want to get that out there. Justice. There's a God after all, right? Okay. I remember those times vividly to this day. Do you know why? We were doing things as a family that bound us together. That's what this family has to do when we meet together. We have to do that. Okay.
Do we have a canvas tent, or can we have the other?
No, let's not have a canvas tent. We're way, yeah. We could have a campfire, absolutely. Right here in Bob's room. This would be great.
Would be the first.
Would be the first. Here we go, verse 10. Be kindly affectioned one to another with brotherly love and honor, preferring one another. Let me show what George Crabbe said about affection. A person is affectionate who has the object of his regard strongly in his mind. By the way, when there is someone who is the object of your affection, you do have them strongly in your mind, right? That's the way we're supposed to have with each other. Who participates in his pleasures and pains. You know what that reminds me of? The evil and the good. And is pleased with his society. I'm going to say that when we meet together, it ought to be thrilling to all of us that this whole group is assembled. We ought to be looking at this group and saying, you know what? I love it when this group gets together. That's the pleased with their society. There's really those three parts there, and it comes to the kinship. Okay, so let me sum this up. Let me go back and get it here. So in verses 3 through 8, we learned our love is to be selfless. We learned that we view ourselves as members of the same body. I think you've got all this. We learned that we can't do this alone. We need the entire body to labor with our Father. And we learned that we're guided by those body attributes, and you know what those are. And then we learned that it's out of the offices of giving, ruling, and mercy that we labor with our Father for the benefit of the entire body. Now, I listed giving, ruling, and mercy because those other offices are filled by the static offices of pastor and deacon. Do you remember? All of those offices together fulfill the two great needs of a body. And you remember what they are. First is the edification needs. But then all the other members will serve out of offices that meet the practical needs of an assembly. And it's out of those offices that we labor with our Father, and it does benefit the whole assembly. Now let's go to verses 9 and 10. In order for our love to be like our Father's, we have to couple our selflessness with kindness. Godly, loving kindness means that we abhor the evil and cleave to the good that happens to the other members of this assembly. It means that we are to be affectioned to one another like we are family. And that being affectioned means that we have each other strongly in mind. We participate in each other's pains and pleasures. And we enjoy being in the company of the other members of this assembly. And that's what that is about. And and that has to be in our thinking, and then it has to show up in our conduct. And so here's really what we have. Verses 3 through 8, we have body-type thinking. And verses 9 through 10, we have family-type thinking. And those are the two things that actually come together for us. Where are we here? Okay. Let's stop this for a session because the rest of this, I need to get into the last session. We're really running out of time. So just stay in your seat for a second. We'll cut this off right here and we'll come back.